lots of things that we kind of set in motion earlier in the year to kind of cover in September, October, and hopefully we'll be able to get to them and have our quorum. But thank you and welcome back for the second half of the year. Is there any comments? Yes.
This is a point of order, perhaps. Is Mayor Matthew Tudis no longer on the call?
He's no longer on the call.
Okay, so it says that he will attend via teleconference from 350 Pleasant Valley Way, West Orange, New Jersey. This teleconference location is open to the public, and any member of the public may address the board of directors members from the teleconference location. In Cupertino, we have a council member who travels widely, and during our meetings, if he drops off, the meeting is immediately ended. Because no one at that location would be available or able to
do public comment, right?
Right. So what is the process that's being followed here?
So we're contacting him remotely, but Shali. Boy, it's been one of those weeks. Sorry about that. Janny, do you want to talk about, from a technical difficulty standpoint, if
Raise his hand.
and hopefully you can
Is
unmute.
he able to call back in?
Janny, can you hear us?
He might be in the audience.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I was having trouble earlier, and I was just looking at the agenda.
Did he not?
Is his hand raised, Shally? Is he like in the audience?
Yeah.
Because it says
There's
it
his hand
says his
raised.
hand is raised.
Oh,
So I think
no, he's here.
maybe
Okay,
he
we can
refused
promote
to
him to
move as a
panelist and see
panelist.
if that's better.
Thank you.
That would be good.
Vice Mayor Moore, we have some language in the agenda that says we cannot guarantee uninterrupted access to technology, online technology, and that technical difficulties may occur from time to time. The meeting will continue even if technical difficulties prevent online participation. That's something we added. I think Janny can speak to it a little bit, potentially to allow for this kind of incident where we lose somebody who's participating remotely.
Janny,
And-
do you have any? Go ahead.
And now he's back.
And now he's back.
So I guess it's a moot point.
He has his
Yes,
hand.
about 3 minutes ago, your audio started coming through. For a while, the audio from the room was not coming through,
Thank you.
but now it is.
Okay.
Okay.
And we should have checked in with Janny also, but okay,
We did.
perfect. Any other comments? We seem to all be online now. Good. Okay. Next up, actually, any members of the public wishing to speak on this item?
No one
Okay.
online.
And no one in the room. Let's move on to the website, to the next item, website committee update, discussion, and possible action. So subcommittee met, we've talked to two different organizations that put forward proposals. We've had kind of a second round of questions that we've given to them. They've answered. The subcommittee will meet again. The website update hasn't been a critical action. It's something that we want to get to kind of update the process, as well as make it easier for our director to update the agendas, to post everything, and just kind of do a refresh to the website. Both organizations have viable options. Viable proposals, similar in cost. We're going back to them and kind of clearing up some questions that we had post their answers. And so the subcommittee will be meeting again over the next month. When we come back in September, we should actually have something to take action on. But right now it's not time critical, but I just wanted to give the board an update that we are still continuing to make progress on this. It's just because after the first round of proposals and what we talked about at the executive committee, we still need some answers. But by the time we meet again, we should have a proposal to at least go with one of those selected. Any questions, any comments? Any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Anyone remote?
No one online wishes to speak.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Next, we'll move to item number 4, fiscal year 2024 audit, a discussion and possible action. Shali, I'll let you take it. Elliot has been was at a late VTA PAC meeting and has been under the weather for last week and isn't going to be able to make it.
So, you'll have the staff report as part of your agenda packet. This is the audit for February through June 2024. As you all know, we officially became a JPA on February 1st, 2024, and that brings with it auditing requirements. So that's what this audit is for. And I wanted a little bit of time to explain some of the findings. They found 3 adjustments to journal entry, AJEs. Okay. I wanted to walk you through those. The first was to recognize expense incurred for the period February 1st through June 30th, 2024, and paid in fiscal year 25. These are actually my invoices, my end of the year invoices. I submit them on June 30th, and they do get paid in the following fiscal year. I think what had happened is that the bookkeeper put the invoice in the wrong fiscal year. And so the auditor just, excuse me, the auditor corrected that. So that was the first adjustment. The second adjustment is to remove reserve for operations account. So I put a screenshot in the staff report. As you can see, this account was opened in 1998, and the last thing that happened, I shouldn't call it an account, but the last thing that happened, activity, was in 2007. I don't know what this is since it predates me. I asked the bookkeeper. The bookkeeper does not know what it is. I believe it predates them, which is why I put this little picture in here. So it's not a separate pot of money in our bank account. I think whoever set it up just created a separate bucket within our bank account. So I've never touched it. The bookkeeper told me that we need the advice of a tax accountant to I don't know. So the auditor suggested that we remove that designation. The third adjustment is to record depreciation expense for the period February 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024. I believe that during the audit, you have to show depreciation of assets, but we don't really own any assets. We have 2 laptops and 1 printer, which roughly comes up to about $2,000. I don't have the receipts since they were bought before I joined. And my handoff was very quick, I'll just say that. The auditor made an estimation of the value of 2 laptops and a printer, and then I believe took 10% depreciation. So that's what they added over there. Okay. All right. The other thing I wanted to also explain is, I believe it's in the letter that doesn't have anything in all caps at the top, the letter to the board. It mentions again the services rendered for the period not properly accrued in accounts payable, so I just explained that. The second thing is lack of appropriate backup for credit card statements. As I mentioned, the handoff to me was fairly quick, and so I didn't become an administrator on our online credit card account. We have a credit card. It is used for recurring charges such as our Adobe license, our Microsoft license, our Zoom account. And I get physical credit card statements, and I check them every month to make sure there's no fraud. There has never been any fraud in the almost 3 years that I've been here. And so I would like to just apologize for my own naivete because I've never been through an audit, personal or professional, and I didn't know that I had to provide invoices to support the charges on the credit card. I thought that it was enough to give them the credit card statements, and especially because the charges are the exact same ones that are recurring. So I now am an administrator on our online credit card account, as well as our Adobe account and everything else. And so I will not have this issue of being able to provide invoices to the auditor. So I was going to say this in my executive director update, but I'll just touch on it now. I'm working with the auditor on the fiscal year 25, 25 audit, the one that just ended, the year that just ended June 30th. And so this issue should not come up again. Otherwise, our audit was pretty good. And what I'm seeking tonight is direction from the board to accept the audit results so that I can file them with the county.
Thank you.
Good.
Okay, and so Elliot again apologizes. He's been texting me that just not feeling up to it. And wishes he would be here. But did anyone have any questions about the audit? And keep in mind, this was a relatively short audit, but from a JPA standpoint. Yes, Director By.
So on the reserve for operations account, where's the balance of $35,000? Where is that? I mean, the recommendation is to eliminate it, but where does that money go? Or do we have a current
The
reserve?
money is always there. I think what they did was just take a chunk of that money and just call it something different. I think it's a way of labeling a chunk of all the money we have, because that is not a separate account. We only have two accounts. We have our bank account, which is a single bank account, and we have our life investment fund account.
Do we have a reserve account somewhere in our current?
So it's the overall account, right?
I'm sorry.
So the $35,000 is part of one of those accounts from
Correct.
a total standpoint.
Correct.
It's not a separate designation. It was all under, so the money's there. It's just under one fund. So it was and I don't remember conceivably what the previous director had, but so there was a designation. When they made that designation, what they should have done is create a sub account, but they didn't. They just said, "Oh, there's $35,000 there." We're just removing that designation at this point. So the money
is
the total sum,
is somewhere in the current
correct.
financial structure. but-
Correct. It was supposed to be earmarked for the designation. But when a previous board did that, or the director did that based upon the board direction, what they should have done is create a sub account or something of that nature from our actual financial account. They didn't do that. They said, well, there's this $35,000 is part of this bigger fund or the bigger account. And that's what we're basically getting rid of, is that designation. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Just double checking. Any other thing? You're welcome. Director. Connect.
Yes, so if we're looking at assets and liabilities, would we then find the 35,000 within the cash and cash equivalents?
Right, let me
Like
just-
where,
Yeah.
where would it be? Cause you can actually earmark reserves, but
Yeah,
like if it's with what we have, where is it?
I believe that it's just, it's part of our total cash.
So if I look at the assets, cash and cash equivalents, it would be within that amount.
It would be within the, looks like 215,000.
Okay.
It would be within there.
So, but is it in the cash and cash equivalents? I mean, it isn't in investments, it's not in, right?
No, we
It's-
only-
It's,
Yeah,
it's
it's not,
actually,
correct.
okay, so it is within that one line.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
So I'm still,
Goodbye.
so isn't the purpose of a reserve to be separate from the cash on hand so that if funding is short, there's money to pay that? So shouldn't there be a line item in the assets that would say reserve, cash reserve, or
I believe those funds were never pulled out of our main account and then created a separate account for it.
So as far as I know, it's a policy that we actually have this much set aside for reserves when we're looking at the overall budget. compared to the actual money. Zoom itself had an issue or depending on what the mic is. You can hear us now?
He got it.
Yes.
Doing thumbs up.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Al.
Move faster. Okay. Other questions?
Did Jenny still want to make the comment?
No, she's fine. Tim made the comment.
I think Jenny has her hand up.
No,
No?
no. I think that's or
No.
separate. I don't know. It's a weird. hand.
Weird.
Okay.
So.
Nothing good.
Oh, yeah, it's something. Anyway, we're all good. Any other questions in the room? No questions in the room. We'll open up public comment. Any public comment in the room on this item? Any remote public comment?
No one online has raised their hand.
Okay, I'll go ahead and close public comment and can you say what motion you're looking for and conceivably what clarifications the board would like to see when the next budget is done?
Okay. So the motion is to accept the results of the fiscal year 24 annual audit for the Cities Association of Santa Clara County and to direct staff to file the audit with the appropriate entities. And can we make that one motion and then
And any other, so is there,
Second.
okay,
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Turner and come on. Rosemary, come on.
Rosemary, can I?
Rosemary. Thank you.
Okay, motion to accept the results of the fiscal year 24 audit for the Cities Association of Santa Clara County and to direct staff to file the audit with all appropriate entities was made by Turner, seconded by Kamei. I will take roll call vote. I'm going to call you by cities. Campbell,
Aye.
Cupertino,
Aye.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Los Altos,
Yes.
Los Gatos,
Aye.
Milpitas.
She's out of the room.
Okay.
Continue.
Morgan Hill,
Yes.
Mountain View,
Yes.
Palo Alto, San Jose,
Aye.
Saratoga,
Aye.
Sunnyvale.
Aye,
Great. With 11 ayes and one motion passes.
thank you.
Thank you.
And if you have additional comments that you would like, Shally took notes on additional things that the board would like to hear and read as far as policies, but we'll clarify that when we talk about the budget next. Thank
Oh,
you.
we're not talking about the budget because Elliot was too sick to
I
go over. it.
understand. So, but I mean, next meeting,
Oh, yes, sorry.
not next meeting, next time. Okay. Next up is item number 5, reports from regional appointed representatives. We have Director or past President Flygor talking about ABAG. The floor is yours.
President Klein, and hi, everybody. I've been on the ABAG board for the last 5 years, and I have to say, and I see Rosemary here, Councilmember Kamei from San Jose, and I think she can relate to this. For the last few months compared to the last 5 years, we've not a lot of action happening at ABAG. And if you're not familiar with ABAG, I think most of you are. We're focused on transportation, environment, and housing, and identifying regional solutions to meet all the COGS, all the cities within the ABAG jurisdiction. And for transportation, that's mostly handled by MTC. But when it comes to the environment and housing, that's under ABAG, and we normally consider policy issues, regional measures. The RENA process went through ABAG, and when we were going through that process, I felt like we were having meetings every week, different subcommittee meetings, figuring out the RENA criteria, and I was bringing a lot of that back to this board. But for the last few months, it's been relatively slow. We've been focused on Plan Bay Area 2050, which was a plan we devised in 2019, so pre-COVID. And the idea behind Plan Bay Area 2050, if you're not familiar with it, it's a visionary aspirational plan about solutions we can implement as a region to address housing, environmental, and transportation issues. And so this is a living document where over the years we have meetings and we discuss ways we can improve it, fine tune it, and find funding to support some of these solutions. The more recent review factored in what's happening in Sacramento and the new modernization of the CEQA process and how that relates to housing. So there's a committee that's going to look at Plan Bay Area 2050 and see, based on the direction of Sacramento and Governor Newsom and how we factor in CEQA with housing and having waivers for affordable housing when it comes to the CEQA process, how does that change our Plan Bay Area 2050? So that's something I think we will be hearing a lot about, and it will require engagement from this board and your individual city councils. So as your representative on ABAG, your cities association representative, that's something I anticipate in the near future bringing back to the board. The other thing that we've been working on was the BAFA funds. As you know, REAP 1.0 helped to fund a lot of the RENA processes and the support that was provided to the different planning departments in your cities. Unfortunately, because of the state cuts, we did not get a REAP 2.0 funding that we wanted. But as Shali has explained at previous meetings, we're now going to look to cities to cover this funding so that we can continue to work with the collaborative to help us through the RENA and housing process. I will tell you the ABAG Executive Board is not giving up on state funding for this process because they have data to show how helpful it was, not just for Santa Clara County, but for all the counties throughout the region, having this funding mechanism to really help us through the RENA process and to implement different solutions. For example, the ADU model that we all were able to tap into, that funding came from the BAFA funds and the REAP 1.0. And so stay tuned. Again, we may need letters, we may need phone calls. There's always the mid-year review. And so they haven't given up. They said they'll go back. They understand their challenges at the state level, but this is something we want to revisit to see if we can get funding to help us with our RENA implementation process. The other thing I have on my list to give an update today is the ABAG Roadshow. One of the things the ABAG board has noticed, we're doing more remote meetings, obviously, since COVID, but they want more engagement, not just from the board members, and I know Rosemary knows this as well, but also from the members that we represent. So I will ask Shali after this meeting to send an email out to board members, and you can also share with your council members just feedback, questions, input, information that you would like to get from ABAG or what you would like ABAG to do more of. They're looking for that input from us because, as I said, for some reason for the last few months, it feels very slow as if we're not, the staff at ABAG, I'm sure, is doing a lot of work, but having our meetings, it's not as engaging as I know it has been over the last 5 years. So the ABAG Roadshow meeting, the president, vice president, and I think the executive director for ABAG is visiting all the different counties, including Santa Clara County. Our visit will be on August 27th from 11 a.m. to 12 noon at San Jose City Hall, and they've invited all the ABAG board members. And the point of that meeting, again, is to get input from all of you. So I'll ask Shali, as I said, to send an email so we can bring this input back to the ABAG team. But that's it. That's all that's been happening. Another big item we worked, and I just remembered this, the bylaws revision. That took hours. I actually missed that meeting. I read the packet, but I missed that meeting. But at that meeting, they made different red lines and changes to our bylaws. I think the most impactful one is they changed it so that executive board members, so myself and Rosemary and other executive board members, are now required to be the General Assembly representatives for our city. So as you'll recall, your city councils would pick, maybe the mayor or someone else to attend the General Assembly meetings. Now they're requiring, if you have a council member who's also an executive board member, just for consistency and just to make sure that the same message is being brought from the executive board to the General Assembly meeting, they're now requiring that that person acts in both capacities. Anything else, Rosemary, that you can think of that's happening at ABAG?
No, it's been kind of quiet.
It has been quiet. It has been quiet. Any questions about ABAG?
I have one.
Go ahead.
Can you go over that date? Sorry.
Yeah. No,
Can you go over
excellent.
that date again? You said 27th?
August 27th, 11 a.m. to 12 noon at San Jose City Hall.
And remind us of what's your hope of that meeting?
So the ABAG president, vice president, and executive director have called that meeting, and they're visiting each of the different counties within ABAG. And the purpose of the meeting, at least how they've described it to us, is to get input and feedback from the members on how is ABAG working for you? Are there things you want to see ABAG do more of? Is there feedback you have on the RENA process? Right? We're all engaged in the RENA process. So they're looking for that feedback and input from us as member jurisdictions, and they're coming to us to get this input.
Thank you.
Can I add something?
Absolutely.
You know, one of the things that, when I got on ABAG is very clear to me is that the areas north of us, San Mateo, San Francisco, Sonoma, Napa, Alameda, Contra Costa, very, very active members who come in, I need this and I need that and da 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 da. And I want to encourage Santa Clara County to be just as vocal, just as, we get the RENA numbers coming down to us. This is an opportunity before the next round comes around to tell them, let them know, hey, a little bit difficult here, or whatever it is your city is experiencing with the work that ABAG does. I think that it's rare. In my 3 years, this is the first time they've come down.
Yeah.
So, it's important to, I know it's kind of in the middle of the day and everything like that, but it's important because then having, one of the things I always say is be present, right? And if you're not there, you know how that goes. So I just put a little mark on that I think it's good of them to come down. They don't usually, but I think that it's important for them to hear how the decisions at the ABAG level on the regional side impact our county and our city specifically.
And they listen to us, right? They listen to Santa Clara County. On the RENA process, a team of us pushed back on some things and they made the changes similar with the housing bond that didn't move forward. But we had a lot of questions about, we're putting more in than we're getting because they wanted to spread it among all the different counties. And that's feedback they took seriously because they understand that we contribute a lot to the ABAG funding source. So we do have a voice. They do listen to us, but to Rosemary's point, we have to show up. We have to be loud. We have to be vocal because the other counties are. And
they very much are.
I will add also that so Rosemary and I'm the Cities Association representative on the ABAG board. Rosemary is San Jose. Yvonne Martinez Beltran is the other ABAG representative for Cities Association. And then we have some other San Jose representatives as well. In addition to being on the board, ABAG sometimes has different committees that pop up where they're asking for non-executive board members to serve. A matter of fact, and Larry Klein will remember this, that's how I got involved in ABAG because I had initially applied, got recently elected. I applied, and didn't get on the executive board, but I found out about a subcommittee that they were forming to start the RENA process. And so I applied and got one foot in the door. And then from serving on that committee, I was able to get on the ABAG board and get more involved in the work that we're doing. And so I will commit to you as your representative to look for those committee opportunities that don't require executive board members and have Shali send that to you. And please get involved. The more voices we can have from Santa Clara County on these is very important.
Thank you. Director Wally.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa, about that. So my question is, do you want that feedback collected via Shali prior to that August 27th? And the second part is, if people are not able to show up, do you want a council member? Do you want city manager? Do you want CDD director or what?
No. I think it's more important to get the written feedback and we communicate it at this meeting. If you're available and able to attend, please do. But we're not requiring or putting it on each of you to bring it back to your councils and require your council members to attend. That's not necessary as long as we have your message, as long as we have your input to bring back.
And we can get that feedback through our city manager because getting it agendized is stuff. Okay,
Exactly.
super. Thank you.
Okay, and Director Moore, you're taking over for Director Hudas
Yes.
at this point?
Oh.
Thank you.
Did he text
Okay.
you?
Thank you.
Because he was on.
Thank you for being here. Any other questions or comments? So Shali, I hope that, I'm assuming that there will be a more formal announcement that's going to go out as far as this is concerned. We're 2 weeks away and first we're hearing about the meeting, which is important, but definitely at least pass that information to Shali, all the logistics and all that. So it can just be distributed to the city managers as well as the city clerks to forward on to council.
Right.
A lot of our residents in the county have a lot of council members in the county have lots of comments on the Reno process, and having a platform that will hopefully be listening, I think is valuable. So I appreciate
Clara
that.
County focused.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Any other comments? Any member of the public wishing to speak on this item? Any remote?
No one
Member?
online has their hand up.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to our next item, Santa Clara County update. Mr. Preminger?
Mr. Chair, if we could defer the update for a little bit.
Okay.
Supervisor Abby Koga is planning to join me to give a report. I'm sure she's in the parking lot just working her way.
Okay. So, Mr. Fruin, sorry to put you on the spot. I thought you. Welcome. Can you give us the LAC update?
Sure.
From earlier tonight?
All right. In addition to receiving an update on tracked bills, the committee examined 5 bills and suggests positions on each one. First is AB 736 by Assemblymember Wicks. The Affordable Housing Bond Act of 2026. The bill would place a $10 billion statewide housing bond on the March 2nd, 2026 primary to fund the production of affordable and supportive housing. It will make specific allocations to certain funds for particularized housing programs as described in the most recent Assembly floor analysis. The LAC recommends that this body adopt a watch position pending additional information. The next bill that was considered was SB 326 by Senator Becker, the California Wildfire Mitigation Strategic Planning Act. It would require CAL FIRE to prepare a wildfire risk mitigation planning framework, a companion wildfire risk baseline and forecast, and a wildfire mitigation scenarios report to better evaluate and mitigate wildfire risk, with a focus on defensible space, particularly by guiding the application of separate legislation regarding the ember-resistant zone regulation. The LAC recommends that this body adopt a support position. It did so unanimously. The next bill is AB 632 by Assemblymember Hart, which regards administrative fines and penalties. The bill would allow local governments to obtain judgments following the exhaustion of all administrative procedures for a set of specific violations. First, those regarding cannabis-related ordinances. Second, those which are violations of state housing law. 3, any law or local ordinance or regulation that ensures the habitability of rental housing. And 4, any law or local ordinance or regulation relating to fire hazards. This would improve the process and speed of recovery of penalties and fines and further deter failure to comply. The LAC recommends that this body adopt a support position. It did so unanimously. The fourth bill recommended for a position is AB 906 by Assemblymember Gonzalez, which regards housing elements and specifically affirmatively furthering fair housing standards. The bill would amend the planning and zoning law to change the process that cities follow for selecting housing element sites to affirmatively further fair housing. The bill would remove certain analytic requirements and would codify much of the existing HCD guidance on the topic. It would also clarify how cities may count ADUs toward affirmatively furthering fair housing. However, it would also require that cities reopen their sites inventory to affirmatively further fair housing even after housing element certification. The LAC recommended an opposed position on a 7-3 vote based specifically on this most this requirement that cities would have to reopen their housing element after certification in order to continue to identify sites for affirmatively furthering fair housing, in addition to other ambiguities that are in the proposed legislation. And then finally, the fifth bill, Assembly Bill 66, which is a 2-year bill, would provide a CEQA exemption for fire safety egress routes. Relatively simple. For any fire safety egress route in a subdivision that's been reviewed by the Board of Forestry and Fire Protection, where the board recommends the creation of such secondary access for the subdivision, such a subdivision egress route would have a time-limited exemption to CEQA that would expire on the 1st of January of 2023. The LAC recommends that the board adopt a watch position pending additional information.
Thank you for the update. Any questions about any of the bills? I know some of you were here earlier. Any questions? Let's go ahead and open up public comment before we move forward. Yes.
Yeah, just public comment, Terry Hines, Campbell City Council. I'm the alternate for the bishop here. Just on the 2 watch positions on the AB, the first one, the affordable housing. One of the things that we keep hearing in Campbell is that from developers is that it doesn't pencil out. And if there's something in the bill that can be added to it to address the being able to help the developers so it pencils out in some way, I think that's an important part to add to that. On the fire safety CEQA exemption for egress, I've lived in many areas where there's fire and flood hazards and dangers and fatalities. I think it's vital to have egress for those. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Is there anyone remote?
No one remote has their hand up.
Okay, I'll close public comment, bring it back to the board. We can take so we have recommendations from LAC to watch 2 of these bills. So we don't need any action specifically on those from a watch standpoint. Does the chair for LAC prefer separate motions, or I don't know how I wasn't paying. I only saw part of that meeting and so didn't hear how if it was that controversial at the end.
It's obviously at your discretion.
Right.
It's your meeting.
Right.
It is certainly easier from my standpoint if there are separate motions.
Okay. So are there any motions for preferably for the 3 bills that LAC took a stance on?
Just want to go down the line, or do you want?
It's up to you.
You're saying separate individually, correct?
He was saying separate if he
Okay.
but we can do if we think that without if there's no objection to 3.
I would move to approve items 7B, C, and D as proposed by LAC.
I have a suggestion. I'm
Yeah.
happy to support the motion, but my only suggestion is, having been in that meeting, AB 906 was a split vote with 7-3. I was in the majority, but the other 3 felt strongly about wanting to say oppose unless amended. We ended up with oppose. So just if you would like to reconsider rather than one motion. But having said that, I second his motion.
Is there discussion? I'm happy to go with the LAC recommendations in all 3. Supporting SB 326, supporting AB 632, and opposing AB 906. Any other comments? Thank you.
Second.
We did.
Oh, sorry.
Tina.
Sorry.
Director Walia.
Okay. Okay. And then since everyone representing their cities is in the room, we can take a voice vote. So motion to approve items 7B, C, and D as presented by the LAC chair. And in the minutes, I will list what B, C, and D are. Was made by Turner, seconded by Walia. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Are there 2 abstentions?
I'm just gonna abstain to the whole thing. We haven't Our legislative manager said we haven't taken a position formally as a council yet, so but we reconvene in 2 weeks, so.
Okay,
And it's the same thing with Los Altos.
Thank you.
thank you.
In that case, motion passes by 10 ayes and 2 abstentions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll move back to item number 6, Santa Clara County update, Mr. Preminger and Supervisor Ivakoga. Please join us. Oh, wherever you are. We have
There's a seat. in the
plenty
middle.
of chairs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am here to actually share my time with Supervisor Abikoga. She is here to talk about the federal tax cuts that we're dealing with in the county. And so Supervisor, take it away. And I have a handout.
Oh,
2-page.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. It's always great to be back at the Cities Association. I was looking forward to the pizza myself. But thank you so much for having us this evening. I just wanted to come by, as you know, my heart is always here. And as I represent District 5 on the County Board of Supervisors, I have, as I've said many times, I have 9 out of the 15 cities in the county. I have the most cities in the district. And so the cities are very, very important to me. And I hope you understand that. So I just wanted to come by and just update you on what's been going on at the county. You probably heard or read last week, we had a special meeting to vote to put a county sales tax measure on the this November 2025 special election ballot. And as you probably know, due to the retirement of our county assessor unexpectedly, we have expecting to spend $26 million on a special election. And given what has been happening at the federal level with HR 1, the budget legislation, we are deeply affected by the cuts. So I think I've shared with you last time I came, our county budget is $13.5 billion. And half of that goes to our health and hospital system. So as you know, we have 4 hospitals, St. Louis, Valley Medical, O'Connor, and then we just recently purchased a regional medical center. And we have 15 health clinics throughout the county. Interesting, and I've learned a lot of this, and Rob Moore is on my staff. He's my healthcare policy manager, but 1 out of 4 Santa Clara county residents are actually on Medi-Cal. And that's where we're seeing the cuts from the federal government. So I believe it was $880 billion in Medi-Cal cuts that the federal government made. We are seeing that come to us as a $1 billion deficit cut, basically. So that's quite a bit when we're spending about $6.5 billion on healthcare. A whole billion of that is quite large and dire. And so we've been working, our staff, as an organization to try to address this. And because of this, I guess you call it timely special election, we made the decision to put this sales tax measure. It's 5 cents. It's over 5 years. And unfortunately, though, even with that, we are only going to be able to generate about $330 million. So it's a third of what we need. And the idea is that if we could get the revenue measure passed, that's a third. We are going to continue to advocate, hoping that the state will be able to help us with some amount, maybe a third is our goal. And still, we're going to have to look at cuts, another third in terms of cuts. And so it's a very difficult decision for me, frankly. It was sudden, and I apologize for the suddenness, but given the timing of all of this and the special election and having to get the ballot measure on the ballot we voted on Thursday the 7th, we had to get it on the ballot by the 8th. So it was a very quick process. It was challenging for me because number one, I thought about how this will affect cities, and I know that many cities are also facing challenges, and you might be looking at your own revenue measures. So I know that is a challenge. I also, and I see my colleagues here on VTA board, Rosemary, Linda Sell, Mark Turner, and we have been talking for the last couple of years now, actually, on a regional transportation measure. And on the same day, on Thursday, I got to vote for 2 revenue measures. So that's also going to be 0.5 cent, and that will be on the 2026 ballot, November, and that will be a 14-year 0.5 cent sales tax measure. So, the concern is like with what we already have in sales tax, with the 5 cents the county. I think some cities will hit the 10% cap. And then with the transportation measure, it will go higher. The transportation measure, we're working on the legislation, the language right now, and it'll actually allow a waiver to go above the cap. So that's how we're going to be able to do this. But, I just am mindful of our residents, and this is tough times for everyone. Inflation is high, affordability is hard here. And, I think it's going to be a bit of a challenge to try to convince our voters to, tax themselves above 10% on sales tax. But we really are just, in a situation that's not something that we wanted or chose. It was sort of placed on us. And so that's why we are moving forward with this. And, I want to just offer if there's, obviously any questions you have, any concerns, happy to, help in any way. I think I know that James Williams, our county executive, has met with your city managers. That he's encouraged your council to maybe have study sessions if you'd like to talk about this more, talk about how this might affect your city's plans. Please call upon us if we can assist in any way. But that's really kind of in a nutshell what we are the actions we took recently. And yes, I just want you to know that I don't take this lightly at all. It's not really our choice. If we didn't have to do this, we wouldn't. I think, for me, I've been very concerned about our county's budget as a whole. We actually closed a $70 million budget deficit this last budget round. I still believe, and I think it is actually wise that we continue to look for, and that frankly, we have to look for efficiencies and cost cutting measures. I think there is actually opportunity to do that. The silver lining, and I think, I was mayor in 2009 during the Great Recession and during a budget deficit time. And then COVID, we had the other crisis. I was mayor again, and then here I am again now in another crisis. But the silver lining to all this is one, we've been able to come out of crises. Two, I look at actually this as an opportunity because it forces us to look at things differently and to reimagine how we provide the services we provide. And part of that comes with, more efficiencies and some cost cutting. And to be honest, I think the last few years, the economy has been good. I think we've all enjoyed some prosperity. And sometimes when that happens, you get a little comfortable with how things, are running. And so I looked at this as actually a positive in that we have the, we're forced to look at things differently and come up with new approaches to delivery. So just wanted to share that with all of you. Happy to take any questions to you. Did you have anything else you'd like?
No, I'm overwhelmed with your sunshine there at the find a silver lining. I would just emphasize, as the county executive did with the city managers, we would like to come to study sessions. This is a complicated issue. There's a lot more to it. We're just giving a very top line overview of it, but it's not just going to impact our healthcare system, our social services, our ability to do supportive housing. All these things are on the line. So that's why this is so important. And that's why we're grateful to the board for the position they really, I think, had to take last Thursday.
And I would say it is a general tax. So even though we talk about the healthcare cuts, it is a general tax. So we are looking at other needs as well. And we've talked about homelessness and, mental health, behavioral health. There are definitely other needs in the county. So we're really having to look at everything. I'll say that the general fund of the county actually subsidizes our healthcare system right now by about $500 million. So that's sort of the connection I see with the other services. So yes, so a lot to deal with. And I guess if I can just take a couple minutes to talk about the transportation measure. So that too, as I mentioned, we voted on Thursday night, and I see Linda Sell here too. And I was very pleased to see that one was a unanimous vote of the board. As you may have heard over the last few years, many of our transit agencies are facing a fiscal cliff. AC Transit, the ones that affect us mainly are Caltrain and BART, AC Transit and Muni in San Francisco. So I'm on MTC, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and there we've been discussing a regional transportation measure to fill the holes of these agencies. But also, frankly, for VTA, and we've been discussing this for quite a while. Originally, we didn't think we had a deficit, but due to sales tax revenue dropping, VTA is looking at a deficit in 3 years, in 2028. And so this really, in my mind, became more of a necessity for us to be able to stay solvent. But again, the positive side that I see is it would generate about, again, $300 million. And we have obligations to Caltrain to keep Caltrain going. BART, we're okay with. We have an agreement, so we're already paying into BART. But our VTA deficit is about $100 million we're looking at starting in 28. After we pay all of that, we still would end up with about $165 million of new funding. And that's what I'm actually looking forward to, because that will enable us to increase our service levels, get some projects done. The money is for service, but it will allow us to use some of it for capital projects that will enhance service and operations. So I look at it as, again, an opportunity. And we have the VTA adopted a visionary network plan that would, it's like a strategic plan that would look at increasing service throughout the county. And this funding would enable us to begin to implement some of those strategies. So yes, it's going to be hard for the voters and the pocketbooks, but I think for us, our job is to make sure that money is put into good use. Voters approve it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mark.
Go ahead.
Thank you. How much will the 5/8 sales tax produce each year?
So we are looking at about $330 million.
Okay.
For 5 years, and then it expires, as the supervisor mentioned.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't catch it. So
Just a
5 years.
5
Okay.
year.
Got it. Yeah,
5
thank
year.
you. Okay, thank you. And then so it's $26 million really is the cost of the special election.
Yes, 13 for the primary, and then because there's 4 candidates, most likely will go into a runoff.
And that is part of the 5/8. Where's that? How's that being covered?
Budget for that, frankly, in this last budget round. So I would say yes, we probably would have to. Yeah.
We were locked into those costs prior to this being put on the ballot. just by virtue of the county charter, which required the special election. It did not give the supervisors the ability to make an appointment through the remainder of Mr. Stone's term.
Okay. And I did check with our city manager in Morgan Hill with regards to the conversation you said that the CEO had. And just maybe some feedback. You know, would have been nice to have, I think, have conversation prior to the vote. And we're in South County already a little frustrated with some of the communications that we've seen or not seen. One of those based on the, you know, the fire district where that all occurred. No communication prior to, even by our supervisor. So if there's feedback that you can send is, which, hey, communication starting earlier would be helpful. Allowing us feedback into those conversations, I think would be important. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I agree with you. Mariko Sayak, my chief of staff, made sure to call all of our cities in my district, but definitely am encouraging our administration to not to give folks earlier notice.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
To be frank, because this really did happen very quickly. We were on summer break, so when I was away, and then when I got back, I got the call that we were going to move forward. So it did happen very quickly, but not an excuse.
And I get that
think
too.
it's,
So yeah,
important for us to be transparent. So definitely
Thank
we'll
you.
deliver that message.
Other comments?
Yeah, so quick question for you to explain a little bit. Can you talk a little?
Know the answer.
It's a bit of a leading question. Can you share why it had to be a sales tax? Because I was coming from a city, I was shocked at the limited authority the county has, where cities have a slew of options we can choose from.
Yes, thank you. Good question. So the county, unlike cities, are very limited in what kind of taxes, revenue measures we can put on the ballot. So we really are limited to sales taxes. Cities can do property transfer tax. We did that in Mount View last year. A number of other types of fees, but this county really is limited to sales tax or a bond measure, like the affordable housing bond measure we did in 2016. But bond measures are only for capital projects. We can't use that for operating or service delivery. So that's why we were very limited and had to go with the sales tax. It's a 50 plus, again, general tax, so it'll be a 50+1 majority passage threshold. So, thank you.
Yeah. And then I'll just add my perspective. The supervisor and Mr. Preminger can't say this, but in my capacity as the vice mayor of Los Gatos, I'm going to be strongly supporting this measure. And I encourage y'all that can too. If this doesn't pass, I think the county is going to have to look seriously at closing one or more of its hospitals, which even if you do not have a county-run hospital in your city, will absolutely impact healthcare facilities in your city. The way I'm thinking about this is, you know, when the poorest residents in our county try to go to Valley Medical Center or, you know, O'Connor or St. Louis in South County, and that hospital is not there anymore, they're going to have to look to another hospital. And most of our cities have, you know, whether it's a Kaiser or a Sutter Health or a Stanford, those will all be impacted. You know, we have El Camino Los Gatos has 8 ER beds and quickly gets overwhelmed. And so while it's not fun to support a tax measure, I think this is super important. And the other thing I'll just say is if it doesn't pass as well, the county will also have to look at decreasing other levels of services, homelessness, public safety for those that use the sheriff, you know, et cetera. So not a fun one to support a sales tax, but I do think it's really important because the alternative, in my opinion, is worse.
Our president of the board, Adelie, just joined us.
Supervisor.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm playing second night with Larry here on the same location and building. Are we doing this again tomorrow, Larry?
No. You missed Tuesday though.
Next Tuesday. Good, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for indulging us about this sales tax measure that came up. One thing I do want to mention, which I thought was kind of interesting when I first looked at the measure, breaking down the numbers, is that as much as we're paying close to 9% or so of sales tax, everybody look at the 9 point some %. Many people thought all that goes to the county. Oh, that's how county gets the money. Like, no. As a matter of fact, out of all that 9 point some %, the county only get 1/8 of 1%. 0.125. That's it. 7.5 so goes to the state every, right. And then the VTA got some, 1 point something. I think Caltrain got some. We actually get a small portion of that, and that's only 1/8%. But we compare to other counties, right? So look at Santa Clara, you look at San Mateo. San Mateo, I think it's like 0.5% of theirs is San Mateo. Alameda actually get 1.5% of the sales tax go all to the county. So we actually have the lowest. So assuming this thing were to pass, which is 0.675%, 5/8, what it means, it would get us to about 3/4 of 1% of the total 9.10%. Only 0.75% goes to Santa Clara County. So what does that mean compared to Alameda County? Will be exactly half of what Alameda was getting right now from sales tax. So just look at comparing different counties. Looks like Santa Clara actually has been collecting a very small portion of the sales tax, which a lot of people don't know. So bring it up as a fact. I have always not liked sales tax all along, ever since I've been campaigning 20 years ago. Some of us remember me, talking about being a regressive tax. Right? I hurt everybody because, as we know, those who are most financially vulnerable are the ones who spend paycheck to paycheck. You spend more, right? So that's where it's really bothered me in many ways, and why would I have to support this? Well, I think at the end of the day, it really boils down to how does the county actually raise money. The one thing I actually did try, but to no success, is like, hey, you know what? How about income tax? How about those who are making more than 2 million a year? Some of you have heard me talk about that proposal, and I talked to Assemblyman actually about it, because in order for a county to raise tax, unlike many of charter cities, we actually need a legislation in Sacramento to say that you are allowed to do this in order to even put in the ballot for people to vote. So when it comes to the sales tax measure, it turns out that Dave Cortese, our senator, had actually put in a legislation that passed 2 years ago, back in 2023, to allow Santa Clara County to have this 5/8 cents tax increase if we need it or when we need it. So for 2 years, our county actually did not so-called pull the trigger to put it on the ballot. Say, hey, you know what? We can make ends meet. We're short so much, but through cuts and whatnot, we can make our balance a bunch of balance. But when we're faced with not 20 million, 50 million, when we're faced with $1,000 million budget deficit with the Medicaid cut that we're talking about, $1 billion per year, there's no way to cut $1 billion for fat. We're beyond cutting fat. We're cutting meat. We're cutting bone right now. Right? If we don't get that, the limbs won't go off. What I mean by that is we're closing hospitals. We're closing clinics. Right? So, I mean, we've got 15 clinics in the county. One right here in Sunnyvale, with one will be just in my district. Of course, over in Lundy for North San Jose as well, they have clinics in addition to the 4 hospitals we have. The other comment I've heard from people says, why is county only hospitals? Why do we own 4 hospitals? Why is this in our business? I'm going to explain to you. We didn't want to buy them. Steve remembers, we only had one, right? Until 6 years ago. The first one that was bought was before my time on the board, was in Louise and O'Connor. What happened to them was Verity, which was this for-profit funds, bought them thinking they can make money out of them. Verity went bankrupt. So these are going to be, they were literally in bankruptcy court, in the chopping board. Nobody's going to buy them for hospital purposes. They were going to go, they were going to close. And that's why county bought them. I mean, we bought them for a good price, but obviously to beef it back up on that's a lot of work. And the most recent regional medical center that we just bought in April, similar situation. It wasn't bankruptcy, but HCA, which is a for-profit company in is it Louisiana, something like that. That HCA is based. They are for-profit. They cannot make RMC profitable, partly because of the patient mix, right? if you see, actually still in our county, by the way, they still own Good Sam. Good Sam is profitable for them because the patient makes good insurance coverage. Those are good profitable work. Do they run a trauma center down in Good Sam? No. Why not? That's not profitable. That's why they closed the trauma level 2 at Regional Medical Center. And that's why we, on the other hand, actually have reopened it as soon as possible back in April when we did it, because even though it's not a profitable business, it's a life-saving business. Strokes, right? Heart attack. These are not things you could wait 5-10 more minutes to get to BMC. They'd be flatlined by the time they get there. So the reason I'm saying all these stories is because we didn't buy these hospitals because we want to. We were there because we had to. Otherwise, our healthcare system for the entire county would honestly collapse. That's how big a deal this is. So, so as much as I personally am not a big fan of sales tax, how the impact is, this hopefully will be able to pass. And that's not going to cover 1,000 million. It's not going to cover what we're raising here is about $330 million. So it's only closing about 1/3 of a gap. We still have 2/3 of the gap that we could cut. And don't ask me how I'm going to cut it right now. I can't even think that far. One thing also about the timing too is the way Congress passes things, it doesn't hit until 2027. Any idea why? Not 2026?
After the midterms.
Thank you. Right? Because if this hurts so badly to people right before the midterm, Republicans might lose. So I think there's some politics in mind. Why is that? So this is that. I mean, hopefully, if let's say the Democrats are able to win, I'm not trying to play politics here. If we get some type of stopping of this, hopefully the impact won't be as bad. But this thing's already passed. To try to stop it is you need another legislation passed, and even Democrats got the House, they still don't have the Senate, and Trump is still the president for 2 more years. So long and short is this is really, really important to us for the county to survive. And it's going to be not just us, but really everybody. The other thing is sometimes people say, you know what? Oh, I got Kaiser. I don't need this. I got Kaiser. Well, the trauma level 1, level 2, Kaiser does not have it. So be a really bad accident, and you need that trauma level 1, level 2, or burn center for the matter, right? You got really burned some fire. Really, the county hospital is our final safety net that we have. So I think I'm preaching to a choir here. I really hope that we could get folks to support, and of course, the police association, your support would be huge. Individual support would be great, and please help spread the word. I'll be happy to talk to any of your city councils where you're from to explain better on some of these numbers. Some of 5/8, 3/4, 0.675 could be confusing. I'm happy to go and explain and do my best to let people know. At the end of the day, it's just really education campaign. People just need to know the facts and where we're at and why this is important. So thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Hope this will help.
Other questions, comments? I have some if anybody wants to speak. So first I'll echo what Director Turner said earlier. No partnership with any of the cities before any discussion, before this emergency, other than a text the day before. Thank you, President Lee, for the text, but it should be a partnership. This is what we supposedly learned under COVID, that it's important to talk to all of our cities when you're making major decisions. And I understand, it's not like HR 1 was approved last week or 2 weeks ago. You've known those issues. And I've heard from lots of residents already that are concerned about this and VTA's tax and, it's, and allowing and raising the threshold just so that we can actually have this work. Supervisor Lee, you mentioned efficiencies, and you're not ready to look at efficiencies for what you're going to cut and what are you doing in the short term? Is that on the table in the short term?
Oh, no, there will be tons of cuts. What I'm saying is not that we're not looking at. We've been cutting for the last 2.5, 3 years, at least, in terms of all the cuts that's been coming up. So look, we've all learned, right? The easy thing to cut is what? Unfilled positions. Right? I'll tell you right now, there aren't that many unfilled positions left. And I can tell you, after budget, there will be 0 unfilled positions because we will have to cut filled positions. no question about it. When I say cutting to the bone, is when we're talking about what clinic are we going to have to close?
So we.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Understood. From an operational standpoint, you have 4 hospitals. Do you need trauma centers there? So it's the valuation of trauma centers versus clinic operations at each of the hospitals. And as we've talked about before, you know, the issue for emergency services has been critical in the county. The value of emergency care is absolutely important, but you know, a lot of the clinics, Milpitas included, is Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So having some sort of additional care, so some first line care there of a nurse or whatever to defer some emergency rooms is important. And the county has not been interested in expanding services at that. They've been more interested in focusing on hospitals, which I understand we are where we are right now, but my residents have already complained to me about that. So you know, that's urgent, having urgent care versus emergency rooms. Urgent care is a focus and doesn't seem to be a focus from the county. So I'll just throw that out there. What polling was done before this was approved?
The county was not involved in any polling.
So it was just decided that we would do this. So our cities normally fund polling?
No, the polling was done, but wasn't done by the county.
Valley Foundation.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the Valley Medical Foundation, which is separate from the county, technically, they are the ones who I believe came up with the poll. And the number, I think last I heard was 56 or 57%. I mean, what are poll says? That's just a lot of assumptions, how you ask the questions. Personally, I'm not a big fan of believing any polls until, you know, the campaign is being kicked off and see where it's at. But regardless, whatever they say, I don't believe this is going to be easy lift. It's going to be a tough lift, especially in this environment. Very tough.
So as we're continuing the discussion, I'm very interested in hearing on what the county's plans are to reduce operations, you know, across the county. What stopgaps are you making, assuming that things don't get changed anytime soon, and you're running towards a wall of deficit? You know, part of this is, well, you're going to get a third of that money conceivably of what's lost if Medicaid doesn't come through, Medi-Cal, funding from the feds don't come through. But I think it's important to be very upfront on what the stance is, because I look at staffing, VTA staffing, I look at county staffing, in we've continued to add. You've met the $70 million, what was it this year, deficit? You met that this year with certain amount of cuts.
Well, that's what the study session would allow us to do, is to have a discussion with each city council. You'll know in advance we're coming. It'll be agendized and all that, as opposed to us just giving a report from the county this evening.
I appreciate that. So you know, I just want to echo what I've already heard from residents. The burden and the cost of living burden is very high. County services, especially from a North County standpoint, and for the South County members that have already left because they want to get on the road and head home at a reasonable hour, have also had similar complaints. So I understand that trauma centers critical, emergency room beds are critical, but there doesn't seem to be a holistic evaluation of the services provided entire countywide. So I'll just raise that as you're looking at cuts, as you're looking at other operations, and the concept of it's a general tax that looks like it's going to be only a stopgap for our hospitals seems to be a little disingenuous, to say the least. But I understand where the county is right now and trying to figure out a solution. And there was that November 4th election happening, so I understand where we are now, but looking forward to.
So on that point about hospitals, we keep talking about hospitals. The reality is, when the hospitals don't make their funds, where's the money come from? General fund. General fund has been funding to make the stopgap, to make the hospital even. Right? That's how we will invest into hospitals. So those are funds coming from general fund to do that. The hospital never been positive, ever, that I know of, right? That we can
Those
remember.
are things that
Yeah.
we started to work on. You know, I believe in cost neutral at least. So we have to, we are starting, and we've begun to look at how to change operations. You know, right now we have 4 hospitals and they're running as 4 standalone hospitals.
Yeah.
But we're trying to consolidate under one umbrella, and that's to eliminate overhead. So there's some efficiencies that we can see there. I will say, you know, at least for me, and I know there's 2 of us now and we have to worry about the Brown Act, but everything's on the table, if you ask me. And I agree with you, you know, for my District 5, out of the 4 hospitals and 15 health clinics, I have just 1 health clinic in my district. And that's a problem because frankly, my residents are going to be the ones paying probably the most in sales tax. So, you know, I continue to bring that up. And I hope that my colleagues will support me as I would, you know, support, I mean, auto district too. Like we tend to have less services than some of the other districts. And so I want to ensure that we have equity. So that's, you know, everything, we just have to look at everything. Is my approach.
Nothing's up table as far as I'm concerned in terms of cut right now. It's going to be all hands on deck. I mean, look, we didn't support HR1 ever.
Right.
It's not something that we created.
Right.
But we got to deal with what we
And
got.
from a property tax standpoint, you get more than each of our cities and this is why we're always seen as a rich county, is our property taxes are such a large portion. You get 16 cents on the dollar, I think, and cities get about 14 cents, right?
6.5, my city.
Okay, but it's, you know, it's looking at where your budget is. I totally agree with you, Supervisor Abacoga. The neutrality of budgets and trying to make sure that you're not deficit spending. You know, we're not the federal government where we can print our own money, and trying to figure out to make sure that have the reserves and are looking forward is important. So I'll get off my soapbox. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Anyone else? Director Kamei?
So I have 2 questions. One is the study session a place where the county would actually provide city specific data on, okay, so usage and everything. So I think also would the county also be able to speak to, should cities support it, it will push us over that 10% threshold, and it would, I think, straddle cities from being able to maybe go out for their own sales tax measures. Mm-hmm. And so would the county have some sort of response, or how would cities be able to thread that needle? It's not a question for right now, but I think that that's something that's of serious concern, having heard from my city manager after the meeting. So, because we all need to think about how we're going to be funding our community needs. Yes. And so even if we want to be supportive, hitting that threshold might be another issue in addition to the other things that President Klein brought up. So
sure. No, absolutely. And one thing I would say is that we are in this boat together. You able to raise more money in your city benefits us, because you would not necessarily have those needs that the county would have to cover, because we are the safety net. Kind of like the umbrella insurance, right? You have insurance of different ones, but we are the ones who cover. If we couldn't cover it, we will have to. That's part of it. So in many ways, I would say, if there's sales tax measure coming from individual jurisdiction, I don't see a reason why we will not be supporting you or any other jurisdiction for that. That's the reason.
I think the issue is the cap. Yep. And yes. I just learned actually, I guess San Jose wanted to do something that would have taken them over 10%. And I don't know the history. I was told the county opposed it. You know, if that happens again, I personally would not oppose the city. You know, they chose to want to get the cap lift. I think that that's something that you have to get state legislation to do. So for the transportation, when it's in the legislation, that'll enable this regional measure. So if you or a city were to choose to do that, I mean, there's two of us here, but it would be something that I mean, I personally.
I would just suggest like if the study session is the venue, being able to find a way to like answer that or have that kind of conversation, because I think many of the jurisdictions are talking about how they can, fund, like for us, we have a public safety building, we have infrastructure projects, we need to be thinking about that. And those are, $200+ million, so.
HR one hurts everybody, right? It hurts the city, it hurts the county, it hurts the state. It's just that the percentage of hurt to the counties are far greater because we got hospital. Yeah, go ahead.
Director Moore?
So this is a general tax, but you seem to be selling it as something that's going to be for the hospital system. And I think there's a danger in that you're misleading the public, that it's going to protect the safety net for the hospitals, your 4 hospitals, and then your 15 clinics. So someone is going to be looking at the language for the on the ballot, because it needs to, clearly state that it's a general tax, and you can't, I would assume, earmark to the hospital.
Exactly. Right.
Okay.
No, you're exactly right. And this is the type of stuff we talk to county councils about, like making sure that because at the end of the day, the money is not just for hospital, say it's going to help deal with homeless prevention. But these are the type of funding that where they come from. These come from general funds. We need more money. This is where the money comes from. If this thing doesn't pass, besides the hospital being hurt, we are going to have less funds to put into homeless prevention, or only exacerbate our homeless issues that we have dealt with. So it's not just one thing we're talking about. It is about the other. From the marketing point of view, I see the hospitals ones that I think some proponent wants to use a lot of, and that's everybody else is talking about it. But absolutely, it's going to hurt in so many things that the county does on a day-to-day basis will be affected.
Okay.
Yeah,
and also that there's posts showing that from Transparent California, how much more expensive the wages are for the employees in the county of Santa Clara versus San Mateo and San Francisco. The doctors making over $1 million in their pay and benefits, over $1 million in Santa Clara County. And you don't see that in San Mateo and San Francisco. And I think that's an important thing for people to consider as well. I'm a little troubled by the fact that you're able to say what the polling was like, but the polls aren't public and we don't know who funded it, I should say, who funded these polls. Why is that? And I imagine that somebody was trying to determine, what's the best strategy to get this passed through, which is have it as a general tax at 50, a little over 50% to get it passed. So why is it that the county didn't conduct the polls? So I don't really, it feels like some secrecy.
I don't think we could conduct a poll, could we, Steve?
Yeah, we could, just like cities
I
can.
don't know. I know it's not done by us. I wasn't sure. And as a matter of fact, I didn't know about the poll actually conducted until the idea came up and says this is the result. Oh, wow. Who did I actually asked the question, who did the poll? I didn't know about this at all when it was happening.
Yeah, and when I'm trying to do some research on it, and it's making it sound as though that a half cent was what they polled. I don't know if that's true. I'd like to know some more about it, and I don't like that there's kind of some kind of special interest funding the poll behind there. So some of how this has come to pass is troubling. Yeah, a little very quick and yeah.
I think our goal was to present the impact of HR 1 on the county. The Board of Supervisors took an action to try to somewhat mitigate that. We're happy to have a discussion in the study session, speak to the facts that are out there. I'm not sure we'd find that our doctors are making $1 million a year. Are there some that do? Perhaps because of overtime, but is that the general rule? I would say it's not.
Yeah. Just pull up Transparent California 2024, Santa Clara County, San Mateo County, and you can pull up San Francisco as well and get a comparison of the salaries up and down the peninsula, because it is, those are both very expensive areas as well. So we don't really have the argument that, well, it costs more in Santa Clara County than San Francisco, or it costs more here than San Mateo. So those are things to just think about.
We do, okay, so we do obviously labor negotiation with every group. PPG represents the decisions. One thing I do know is that the ones that make the most in doctors, because they all get paid different depending on the specialty. I think the anesthesiologists, I think, are the ones that all will be highest paid, but there'll be very few of them if it's that, because don't need that many of them either. But the average doctor in our county for sure don't make anywhere near that. That's a fact. Anyways, I'll pull that, see where it comes from.
Yeah, it's interesting pulling them up, seeing what the physician's assistants make, and then going down through the list. It's enlightening. But thank you.
Thank you. Any other director have a comment, question? Seeing none. Anyone from the public wishing to speak? Director Hines or alternate?
Mariana Campbell City Council, alternate here. Thank you, President and Supervisor and staff, for a very thorough and enthusiastic presentation. So thank you. I want to make sure that from Campbell's standpoint, that we're not losing track of the support for the homeless environment. Vice Mayor Foley and I went to a very raucous conversation about addressing the homeless situation.
You're great, man.
We want to be able to continue to do that. I personally have offered to be participating in community advocacy committees, and I just hope that the county continues to support the homeless programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Vice Mayor.
Hi, I'm Linda Self, Vice Mayor Sunnyvale, alternate with president, board. I just wanted to say earlier this year, my friend's husband was in a bike accident and he was taken to the Valley Hospital and he was in critical condition. He got life-saving care and they saved his life. He had to be taken to that instead of the nearby hospital because the nearby hospital did not have the trauma care that the Valley Hospital has. So that's a case in which she lives in Sunnyvale, he lives in Sunnyvale. Valley, that their trauma centers saved his life. So let's say that.
Thank you. I didn't pay you to say that, right, Linda?
Any other comments? Anyone from the public wishing to speak?
I guess the only thing I'd say is if people are interested in having the study sessions, please let me know or let Shaylee know and we'll work on them, scheduling them and having staff present to answer all the questions, including all that's come up here.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Oh, well, hang on. So we'll close public comment, bring it back to the board. Vice President Wong.
I would suggest that why doesn't the county reach out to all city managers? Just offering a study session rather than Shelley asks me.
Oh, yeah, I think our county executive did offer that to the.
We had a study session essentially yesterday.
Wednesday, we had a meeting with CEO Williams and he did offer that.
Oh, wonderful. That's what I understood first, but just now Steve's comment, I was like, so this is an additional.
The next city managers meeting is not till next month, but we were able to have a special one yesterday.
Wonderful.
Of most of the city managers.
Thank you.
And I'll just add, Tina, as you know, from other things we have worked on, even though this has been communicated directly with the city managers, a nudge from us sometimes moves it forward.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation and your information. Just to follow up on what was said previously in terms of the work that you do at the county, I know that the largest chunk of of expenses is for the hospital. But, since it's a general tax, it could go to the critical services, as in what's happening in the homeless community and supportive housing and all that kind of stuff. So I think that this is not just going to be for the hospital, right? I mean, a good chunk of it, but I think that we will lose a lot of the progress that has already been made should we not be successful. So I think that talking about it with examples that are a little bit broader, I think would also be helpful. So as you're thinking about the study sessions, I would also think that would be helpful because it's all the safety net. So thank you.
Thank you. And that did remind me of one other thing. There was no list of oversight as far as that's concerned, much like we did that for the housing bond. We had a whole oversight that was defined early. What's
There is.
there is oversight?
There is.
There will be an oversight body that's built into this, and again,
Okay.
that's something we can bring out in the study session.
Right. Well, thank you
The 5
for
years
being
sunset.
here. Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. With that, we will move on to our next item, the Santa Clara County City Managers Association update. Mr. Kirby?
We did not meet, well, we had a meeting yesterday with James Williams that was called ad hoc. We had actually canceled our meeting for this month, so I don't have anything to report out other than what you just heard. So thank you very much. More to come next month.
Thank you. Shelley?
Yeah, the only update I have is that I am working fully with our auditors on our FY25 audit.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any members of the public or directors wishing to speak on either of those two items? Sorry, we should rushing us along. Any members of the public
No one.
raise hands? No?
Nope.
Okay. And lastly, we'll move to joys and challenges. Any joys or challenges around the room?
We're gonna end before 9.
Yay. Yes.
Get back to my kids. All right, I'll see you.
Just to go out, actually got notification of funding from FEMA.
Oh.
So FEMA apparently is not dead yet. Or it's dead, but Trump doesn't know it because about $1.1 million for our 23 storms. Where we filed some claims for that. So
Congratulations.
Spend it fast.
Yeah.
We'll claw it back. Don't worry.
That's why I told the city manager, we have to spend it fast because
Spend it quickly.
It's gone yet.
Anyone else? I have one quick one. You'll see a press release tomorrow, but the embargo that's been on for multiple months is finally lifted and we got the pro-housing designation from the state. So
Oh, yeah.
it's been a long time coming and no idea why it was embargoed so long, but happy that in any case that we get that designation. And with that, we will adjourn the meeting at 8:54 p.m. Thank you all for a good meeting, lively meeting. Have a good evening.
Bye, Janny. Thank you for being there.
Thank you, Janny.